Well, hi subscribers. I just thought I'd do a little update here because we're in our breakdown phase at the moment. So this is why you won't have seen any videos for a little while. So I'm just going to take you through and show you exactly where we are in that process and what we're going to be doing and the extent of this entire operation. So the idea was that we were going to go over to the 737 MAX 800. So I won't go into too much detail, but I approached a distributor about, or several distributors about upgrading, and they weren't real keen because they wanted to sell me entire setups rather than doing bits and pieces. So it left me in a tricky spot because I don't really have the money to spend upwards of $24,000 for the upgrade. And it also required me to be selling off my old parts at quite high prices, so it just wasn't going to happen. And being an aircraft engineer by trade and sheet metal worker by trade, I knew that those costs were horrendous and that there was no way that I should be spending that sort of money. So I decided to thumb my nose at these people and I'm going to upgrade all this stuff myself. So I'll just give you a bit of a look at what's happening. This is the mess that we used to call the flight deck. That's my real aircraft overhead with all the paddles on it hanging down at the moment. I've absolutely destroyed the inside of the cockpit at the moment. There's no linings in there. We're in the process of pulling the entire main instrument panel out, and I've only just determined yesterday that that's not going to work without taking out either the yokes, which is a very involved system in the flooring, or pulling apart these panels on the side, which all have glass in them. So I never did the glass properly in these. I actually embedded them from the inside, which was the wrong thing to do. They should have gone on the outside. So I'm going to try desperately to pull them apart, but which means taking all the overheads out, ripping the top off this thing, and basically pulling apart the entire shell. So it looks like that's the route I'm going to take, hence I'm taking the overheads out, which I would have had to do anyway. So anyway, let's go through and I'll tell you exactly what we're upgrading. That MIP, which is a 737 MAX, 737 800 NG FDS version 2 MIP with the CDU bay. I'm going to completely remove that and build a whole new one. And this new one, I've done my extensive research from real aircraft, and I've developed my own drawings, so I haven't used anybody else's drawings, and I've manufactured drawings to create the whole new MIP main instrument panel. So I'll be having them cut out of steel in the next couple of weeks. I'll also be building a whole new CDU bay. The only thing I will be taking off this old MIP will be the just the top end of it, the glare shield and the glare wings. So I'll be selling off that entire MIP with all the gauges, all of the screens in it and everything very shortly. So the MIP is going to be changed, so that'll give me the brand new Max MIP. And then on top of that we need to change the throttle. So my CFY Cockpit for You version 3 gold fully automated throttle is up for sale at the moment for $4,000 Australian. So if anybody's interested in that, that's ready to sell. I also I have a distributor who's going to sell me a brand new 737 MAX throttle quadrant. Then we look at the overheads. So this overhead, which took me a lot of money and a lot of time to develop and manufacture, as I said, is a real overhead with FDS panels on it. So we're just going to modify that. There's very little done to the overhead. There's a couple less switches down the bottom here, the light switches, which these light switches, there's only the two inner fixed lights on the 737 MAX now, so I'm not sure. We'll probably take this panel off and modify it and take out these last two and the little board that actually turns them all on. The only other thing is that we take out the EGT gauge, and I'll probably make a little blank that will go over that as well. That's the only thing in the forward overhead other than an extra light in here for your spoilers, and I'll show you the original, so it's quite easily, you can see from the original there that there's the extra spoiler light, spoiler annunciator, so I'll put one of those in. Nothing else on the MIP is at the main overhead has changed. The rear overhead is very similar as well. The only thing is that PSEU light has now been annunciator has been changed to a maintenance annunciator. There's a couple of extra, one extra flip down switch cover, and I think one or two other annunciators, which I'll just show you right now on the original. There you go. And that's about it for the rear overhead. So I'll be keeping my overheads, just modifying them. That'll be relatively easy, and that's basically it. That's all I have to do. But while I've got the sim in the strip down mode, I'm going to repaint the entire shell, outside and inside. All of my internal liners I'm going to repaint again as well, and I'm going to sort out my issues with my intercom when I reinstall all that stuff. So that's about where we're at the moment. It looks like a huge big mess at the moment, but, and you can see I've got bits and pieces out the side here as well, and I'll be able to put my beautiful AeroSim solution rudders back in when the whole thing is done. At the same time, I'm in here. I'm going to go over and give it another coat of matte black. So that's about where we're at the moment. We are in that update process, and it looks like we're going to be out of action for probably up to about 6 months. But what I'll do, instead of doing our flights, we'll give you progress on what's going on with the sim and how far we've got with it. So we're going from a flight type situation to a build situation again. Now, some people have asked me, why in the hell would you go and change a perfectly good sim over to the Max when it's so similar? Well, there was a couple of reasons for doing this. One was that I am physically in a situation at the moment where I have the resources to do this now, but I may not have the resources to do it later on. The second thing is, and the most important thing, is that the Max is going to be the successor of the 7.3 series, so I wanted to get in basically on the ground floor before it all gets going, and I know that I can manufacture these things relatively cheaply, whereas later on, in about 2 or 3 years time, when this Max really gets a hold and most people are changing over to it, it's going to cost a lot of money. So I thought, well, better to bear the brunt of it now, get myself sorted and get going, and then I'll have a fully functional 737 Max. I haven't yet determined whose avionics suite I'm going to go with. I want to go with ProSim, but there's no ProSim software out there at the moment, and I have talked to one of the main guys from ProSim about it, and he's promised to put me on the list and keep me up to date with the 737 MAX software which is being developed at the moment. There is one other software, avionics software, and I have seen it in operation and it looks pretty good. So that is a secondary option. However, the only problem I see with the secondary option is that there is no dedicated flight model. The flight model that they use for that particular avionics software is a freeware aircraft, and I'm not really keen on that. I would like, as in the ProSim model, they actually have a dedicated software model, flight model rather. So yeah, so that's where we're at. By the time I finish all this mechanical stuff, I'm pretty sure ProSim will have out their avionics suite, so I'll be going with those guys. So that's where we're at. Okay, so thanks for hanging in there. I hope that I can bring you a couple of videos along the way that might interest people, and even spur some people along to do maybe the same thing. Now, one thing I will also say right at the very end here, and that is that my drawings for the main instrument panels, please don't ask for them. Out of respect to the other two manufacturers, I'm not going to make them available to anybody. I did mention this to one of the manufacturers, and I will do it. I will never ever divulge those drawings. If people want to do their own thing, that's up to them, but I won't be giving away these drawings, and they'll never go into public domain. And besides that, I've done all these myself, so I mean, there's no copyright on this stuff anyway, other than the fact that I did my own drawings. But I just don't want to do the wrong thing by people. So okay, that's where I'm at. I hope that explains some stuff, and please hang in there, because I do have some really good videos coming along that will explain some stuff to you prospective builders. And I will be making some videos along the way, so as I say, hang in there and you should be happy with what you see. Okay, that's it. That's all for now. I'll sign off and hope to see you very shortly. Bye for now.